In this video, I'm going to talk to you about removing overspray from your vehicle's paint or trim. Now, this vehicle behind me, it's my personal vehicle. It actually doesn't have any overspray on it, but I didn't want to wait till someone called me up with a car that had overspray in order to make this video because I wouldn't know how long that was going to be. And it's helpful advice to anyone that actually wants to or gets a call from a customer or wants to remove their own overspray. So no, there's no overspray on this, but I will walk you through the process as if it did and what I usually do. Now, if you're just getting into starting a detailing business, check the description box down below for a wash and wax service guide on how to sell your services, what that service includes, how much you should charge. You can get all that in the description box down below if you're thinking about starting your detailing business. And the steps I'm gonna tell you can be applied whether you're in winter or in heat, but me specifically, I work in Texas, and the most previous car I did overspray on was literally a black car with a bunch of overspray over the entire vehicle in the dead heat with no shade. The panels were burning hot, so if I leave my hand on there more than like 5 seconds, my hand and any part of my body would literally burn because it was that hot. So I had to be efficient. I had to be able to work fast enough where the water wouldn't dry on the vehicle, because I'm telling you, it was burning hot, and I had to get great results. So I had a few factors to play with. On top of that, it was black, so you could really see all the overspray. So I'm gonna pretty much walk you through the same process I did on that vehicle with this vehicle. Although there's no overspray on it, I can still walk you through thoroughly the process in which I do it. And if you've seen my wash and wax video, which I'll link it up here just in case you want to watch it, it's gonna follow the same process with a few variations to it because it's overspray. You'll probably spend a bit more time cleaning the vehicle because it's stuck onto the paint. Now, if you don't know what overspray is, it's basically, generally speaking, and for the most part, is when there's a painter or construction going on and some of the paint flies over and gets on a vehicle, and either a customer or people usually describe it as a rough feeling, a rough texture, gritty, coarse when they run their hands over it. So obviously people don't want that feeling on their vehicle, so they want to call a detailer to remove that. So that's basically what's overspray. Now, first you have to start off with the wash. I'm assuming it's really dirty, it's really hot, so you have to start off with the wash. I'll give you a quick 30-60 second overview of how the rinseless wash process works. So I use one 5-gallon bucket, fill it up to around 4 gallons of water. I use optimum no rinse for my rinseless wash. Again, because it's burning hot, I can't use any other method. I need to make sure I dry it off quick enough to where it doesn't dry on the vehicle. And then you need a wash mitt. This wash mitt is actually very dirty. I don't use this. It's just the only one I had laying around. My other ones are washing. And then one microfiber towel to dry the vehicle. And then another microfiber towel, 2 microfiber towels to buff off, just because it might leave streaks while you're drying. So use the second one to buff off any of those streaks. Okay, this is just a crash course, nothing very thorough. I'm not gonna actually do it, just walking you through the process. So you have the optimum no rinse, 4 gallons of water, you dunk it in there, and you wash one section at a time, whether it be however you wanna do this. I typically do one panel at a time, so not just one section of the door, but I'll do the entire door. I'll wash this entire door. I'll grab the microfiber drying towel and then dry it off and then move on to the next part of the vehicle. And I'll do that for the wash process step by step by step. Now, it's your decision on whether you want to do wash one door panel or one panel of the vehicle or one section of the vehicle and then start cleaning that part for the overspray, or if you want to do like one half of the vehicle and then clay everything, or if you want to do the entire vehicle and then start cleaning everything. My personal preference is to do like one door at a time, or 2 doors at a time, or one side of the vehicle at a time and then start claying. So one entire process of washing, one entire process of claying. Just because if you go around the entire vehicle of washing it first, by the time you get back to where you started, dust, debris may have fallen down, then you got to wipe it down again. So to decrease the amount of time you have to work over yourself, I'd rather just do one section, one panel, one door at a time, wash, clay it, and then move on to the next section. That way I have everything, it's just more efficient in my opinion with that method. When it comes to cleaning the vehicle for overspray, it's just about the same as when you're normally cleaning it for maintenance every 6 months, a year, or before you do paint correction on it. The only difference is you'll probably spend a bit more time and you'll put a bit more attention on it, just because it does kind of bond to the paint a lot stronger, so it does take a bit more time, and that's what the customers really focus on, to remove that gritty coarseness feeling to it. So you will probably spend a bit more time on the claying just because it's just more aggressive. It's really stuck onto the paint. So same process as the wash, where you're gonna work on one section, and depending how bad the overspray is, if you know it's really bad, and first you want to start off with a section to see how much time's involved to remove that overspray. So if it's like on your first panel, and you're just starting off, don't try to miss the entire vehicle and go at it super quickly. You want to see how long it's going to take you to remove that overspray. So maybe by like a 2x2, just a very small section, lubricate it, work it in, agitate, or clay away, and inspect your work and see, did I get most of it? Did I get none of it away? Do I have to go more aggressive with like more aggressive clay mitt or clay pad or clay patty? Just because you really want to see, like, in a small section, if it took a lot of work, that probably means it's going to take a lot of work throughout the entire vehicle. So you're not going to want to mist everything down and then try to quickly hurry up and clay everything, because you're just not going to get to the bottom because so much work is involved in claying. So before you get started and actually go for the claying process, spray a small section, clay it, inspect your work, see how well it did, and then try to mimic that over the entire vehicle. If it did take you a long time, don't work an entire panel or an entire section. Just work small panels by panels. That way you can really focus in on your attention, because you don't want to miss the entire vehicle down, clay everything down, dry it all off, and then you see that like there's like small areas that you miss all over the vehicle. That then you just got to do more work. So best just to start off right. See how much work it takes, work slowly and efficiently, which will end up saving you more time than if you're trying to rush through everything and then you're like spot checking yourself, plenty of places around the vehicle. And you'll follow that same process on the paint, of course, on the glass, even the wheels. You'll do the exact same process. Now, some areas will need more attention more than others. That's just the nature of what it is. So yeah, some areas will be easier, some areas will be worse, some areas will have more, some areas will have less. So it's just, you definitely got to play it panel by panel to see how aggressive and how long you got to work it in. Now, one of the more tricky areas is going to be the trim. Now, sometimes you can get away with it by simply either like scratching or just with your fingers scratching it off. Sometimes you can use like an adhesive remover. Sometimes you can use an APC and a brush and agitate it off. Sometimes, but mostly what I use on different types of trim is my steamer, and that one saves me a lot of time on the trim. And that's what I really wanted to share with you today, is that if you have a steamer, right, it doesn't have to be some super expensive $1,000, $2,000 steamer. This McCulloch is $200, but it saved me so much time with trim by just steaming it up. It's not on right now, I'm just walking you through the process, but you just turn it on, steam the area, follow it up with a dry towel, wipe it down, and a lot of the overspray will be removed. This was a huge time saver because I was working on a Mini Cooper something, and it has a bunch of trim around the vehicle, and I was struggling at first, but once I brought up the steamer, I was steaming it, I'd wipe it down, and then sometimes I'd brush it with a APC and a brush. It was working and saving me so much time. So definitely, if you have a steamer, if you encounter a lot of overspray and you don't have a steamer, I definitely recommend you pick one up because it will save you a lot of time and headaches on plastic trim. Now, one part that is very tricky is this, the mold here. When the overspray sits on there, at least in my experience, I could be wrong. If you guys have a better suggestion, please let me know in the comments below. But it's always the most difficult to get it off of here. It like really sinks in with this plastic molding here. So I mean, you can get minimal results with the steamer or with the agitating with a brush, but I have yet to find like a real good solution to this. So if you have any suggestions, please leave those down in the comments below. Now, a few tidbits on claying. Now, specifically with clay mitts, I actually haven't used a clay pad or clay disc in a while. So with this specific type of mitt, if you spray clay lubricant and for some, there's like a really there's an area that's not really coming out, and you like try to sit there and scrub more aggressively and harder, then some of the clay from the mitt will get stuck onto the paint itself. Now, it's not permanent. You can easily remove that with APC or maybe some adhesive remover. But you do want to just keep mindful of, like, if there's an aggressive, and if there's a more difficult area that's not coming out, don't necessarily scrub harder with your clay pad or clay mitt or clay patty, whatever you're using. More so, just give it more time. Apply a little bit of down pressure, more than what you normally would. But just sit there and agitate more, and just be more frequent with it. So instead of spraying, trying to going at it super hard, just spread, keep it lubricated. Always keep the paint lubricated, and just sit there and just clay more as frequently as you need to until it comes off. Don't so much try to put so much down pressure where you're gonna scratch the paint, you're gonna mar the paint, you're gonna get some of the clay pad, clay mitt onto the vehicle. Then you're working more over yourself. So don't do that. Just spray and just be more frequent with it on the area that needs more attention. That'll do the trick. Now, if you are doing this as a business, then a lot of times you'll see that the customer is being reimbursed, or another company is paying for the service that you're going to perform because it was caused by another company. So when that happens, make sure you are charging appropriately, because if it's overspray is a lot of work, especially if it's covered on the entire vehicle, then make sure you are charging appropriately, because number one, the customer's not paying for it, it's the company that's paying for it, and they have to, if it's a lot of work, then make sure you're charging what you're worth for that service, because it's not the customer that's directly paying for that. I mean, they might be handing you the credit card, but they'll be reimbursed it. You got to send them the invoice, what have you. But that's just another extra side note where it's mostly, a lot of times in my personal experience, it's from caused by another company that was working around and their vehicle was in the crossfire of that overspray. Okay, and that wraps up this video on overspray removal. Again, if you want that guide to offer wash and wax services in your detailing business, check the description box down below. But other than that, throughout the video, let me know what you do for other parts of the overspray removal to help me out and others that are watching and reading the comments below. I'm not the best detailer, I won't be the best detailer, so I'm always learning. So if you have any advice, any suggestions, let me know on the paint, on the glass, on the trim, whatever suggestions you have, let me know. Like this video, subscribe, and then I will see you on the next video.